Do you know how strong you have to be to make a black woman smile? Do you have any idea what an accomplishment that is? Because she has borne the weight of this country on her back for 400 years. She's been carrying the load of America in her belly since its infancy. She has suffered the agony of unassisted, husbandless child rearing since the 1600s. Have you any idea how much strength it takes to put a smile on her face? You need the strength of Samson, the nerve of Joshua, and the courage of David facing Goliath. Because she has cultivated in her womb the marvel of the universe, only to have her hopes and dreams aborted and her aspirations show up dead on arrival. She's given birth to kings and queens and delivered on her majestic promise, only to see her children kidnapped and sold to a criminal with no respect for her royalty. If you can make a black woman smile, you are a miracle worker. Imagine breastfeeding your child in Virginia and having him snatched from your arms, branded, then hijacked to Louisiana and publicly fondled on a New Orleans auction block. If the memory of that pain was locked down in your DNA, would you be smiling? If you breastfed someone else's child only to watch her grow old enough to call you darky, pickaninny, and nappy-headed jigaboo, you wouldn't be smiling either. If you can make a black woman smile.
It's Jim, and I hate to interrupt that beautiful poem by Ty Grail, A Black Woman's Smile, but the reason I'm sharing it's on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing. I'll put a link. I might even repost it myself. It's so beautiful. But I show you that clip to give you a sense of the poem. A fellow YouTuber on here named Witzkeyman did a video response to it that just drove me up the wall. You know, his response. Check it out.
It takes a lot to make a black woman smile. Well, we've all agreed on this. But why does it take more to make a black woman smile than a woman of any other race?
Does everything have to be a competition? It's a poem. It's a beautiful poem, celebration of black women and all they've gone through over the last 400 years. Okay, it's not a competition. Who is it harder to make smile? That's the kind of mentality that I just don't get. Like, how do you listen to a poem like that and go, hey, it's just as hard to make a white woman smile? That's not the point.
Now, I could show you pictures of Jewish women thrown in ditches from the 6 million Jews that were exterminated and thrown in gas chambers only 65 years ago. But I'm going to be a bigger man than that.
Now, I tell you to watch his whole video, but unfortunately, once I pointed out the factual errors in his video, Witzkeyman pulled it. Kind of deceptive, right? But again and again, it's kind of funny. He says, you know, I could bring up this, but I won't. Well, he brings it up. Just by mentioning it, you're bringing it up. I mean, he's like, I could bring up slavery, but I won't. Well, you just brought it up. and what I don't get is, what does it matter? Bad things happen to people. This particular poet is celebrating a particular struggle. Doesn't say anything. I mean, who cares? Yes, bad things happen to Jewish people. That doesn't diminish what happened to black people. Doesn't mean that black poets should write about it and talk about it and remember it. It's apples and oranges. Yes, 6 million Jews died, and there were women. That was 65 years ago. Today, in this country, right now, women, black women, have a lower life expectancy than white women. Their children are more apt to die in childbirth. Men are, 8, 10 times more likely to go to prison, right now, okay? this comparing apples and it's just ridiculous. It's the mindset of just a moron, really.
Some people like to dramatize by showing the past. Not me. I'm not going to bring up slavery because blacks were not the only slaves. Jews were slaves. Let my people go.
Yeah, he's not going to bring up slavery, and then he proceeds to bring up slavery. Yeah. And the let my people go, where did he get that point of intellectual wisdom? A movie? Or maybe the Bible? There is no historical evidence that the Jews were ever enslaved by the Egyptians. That is the work of Hollywood and apparently Witzkeyman.
The Jewish people are doing quite well for themselves today. We have Sigmund Freud. We have a lot of doctors that are Jewish. Albert Einstein.
So he's sitting there watching this video, celebrating the struggle of black women, the hardships they've endured over the last 4 centuries. And this guy decides, I better let people know the Jews are okay. What is going on in that head? That the Jews are okay, and they're okay today. And he mentions 2 dead scientists and a lot of Jewish doctors. Huh? What? What? There are no black doctors? I happen to have a black doctor. And there's been plenty of great black scientists. What he's really trying to say is not that the Jews are okay. He's really trying to say is what's wrong with the blacks? What's wrong with them? Why haven't they lifted themselves up by their bootstraps the way the Jews have? Just dismissing out of hand the institutional racism that exists in this country, where a black person who commits the same crime as a white person 8 times more likely to get the death penalty because of the color of his skin. That's the kind of country we live in. Ask Mumia Abu Jamal.
Today, Iraqi children are suffering because the UN won't lift sanctions against getting chlorine to the Iraqi children so they can drink clean water. Palestinians are becoming refugees, getting kicked out of their home and everything they've had their whole life. These people are suffering. These people are suffering right now.
The sanctions regime that he's talking about, as if it's going on today, it was ended in May of 2003, nearly 5 years ago. And the Palestinians aren't becoming refugees. They've been refugees for nearly 60 years, for over 60 years. It's nothing new. When we talk about now, what's going on now, why don't we focus on this country? What's going on in this country? We have black people in this country just by being born black. They will have a lower life expectancy. They'll be more likely to go to prison. They'll be more likely to lose their right to vote than white people. They'll be less likely to get bank loans. At every single level, they face oppression, and it's not right. It's not cool to act like it's some long ago thing. The civil rights movement isn't over. The struggle for justice isn't over.